The dog who woke the sun. On the edge of a quiet green valley stood a cozy little farm called Bluebell Farm. It was a peaceful place, where the wind whispered through the wheat and sunflowers stretched tall toward the sky. The animals lived happily there, cows in the fields, goats in the hills, chickens in the coop, and one very special dog who watched over them all. His name was Buddy. Buddy was a shaggy, golden, brown sheepdog with kind eyes and a heart so big it seemed to shine. Every morning, long before the rooster crowed or the first rays of sunshine touched the grass, Buddy woke up. He didn't need an alarm. His heart told him when it was time to begin the day. He would rise quietly, stretch his legs, shake the dew from his fur, and trot gently over the soft earth. His first stop was always the barn. The animals were still asleep, their breath warm in the cool morning air. Buddy would nuzzle each one carefully, making sure they were safe and sound. He licked Clara the old cow gently on her nose. He checked on Daisy the calf, who liked to curl up in a corner of the straw. He poked his nose into the goat pen where Gracie and her 3 little kids were snuggled in a bundle. He made sure no one was cold, no one was hurt, and no one was scared. The animals loved Buddy more than words could say. After he made his rounds, Buddy would head to the henhouse. The hens were still quiet, sleeping on their roosts. Buddy would sit outside the door, listening to the soft clucks and tiny snores. Then, when the time was just right, he would give a gentle bark, not too loud, just enough to let the sun know it was time. And almost as if it was listening, the sky would begin to glow. Farmer Annie always said that Buddy had a magic in him, that his kindness was so strong and so deep that it could wake the sun itself. The world rises for good hearts, she would tell him with a smile, scratching behind his cars. Buddy would wag his tail and give her a lick on the hand. He didn't know about magic, but he knew he loved his farm and everyone on it. One morning, after a windy night, Buddy noticed something strange. The scarecrow in the field had toppled over. He bounded out to the rows of corn and found it lying face down, its straw hat blown into the tall grass. Buddy barked once, then carefully took the scarecrow's arm in his teeth and dragged it upright again. He found the hat and placed it back on its head. The crows watched from the trees, quietly amused. Buddy gave them a polite woof and they flew off without complaint. Later that day, while the sheep grazed in the hillside pasture, Buddy heard a tiny bleat. A lamb had slipped into a muddy ditch and couldn't get out. Buddy raced to the edge, barking to alert Annie. She came running and her until she stopped shaking. Together they pulled the lamb to safety. The little one nuzzled against Buddy, trembling but safe. He lay beside when a stray cat appeared one afternoon, skinny and frightened. Buddy didn't bark or chase. He simply sat still, his eyes soft, his tail sweeping the ground. He nudged a bit of leftover fish her way and turned his head to give the farm to her space. Slowly, she crept forward. She ate, she purred, and from that day on, Misty the cat became part of another friend under Buddy's care. Then came the storm. It rolled in with black clouds and thunder that cracked the sky. Rain came down in great sheets and whined heavy with worry. Howled through the trees. The animals huddled in the barn, frightened. The lights flickered and the night fell, but Buddy was there. He went from stall to stall, checking on everyone. He lay beside the goats to keep them warm. He curled his body around the chicks. He stood tall when the wind banged open the barn doors, barking bravely until Annie crawled into his fur and closed her eyes, comforted by his calm. Came to secure them. Misty the cat hid beneath a barrel, shivering, until Buddy lay down beside her. She crawled into his fur and closed her eyes, comforted by his calm. By morning, the storm had passed, and the sun returned, golden and warm. Annie stepped into the barn and saw the animals all sleeping peacefully, huddled close to Buddy. She smiled, tears in her eyes, and whispered, "You woke the sun again, didn't you, boy?" The days passed, full of chores and sunshine. Buddy continued to help wherever he could. He fetched lost boots, nudged sleepy chickens back to the coop, and guided baby ducks to their pond. He played tag with the children from the neighboring farm and let the smallest one use him as a pillow during afternoon naps in the hay. At the end of each day, when the sky turned orange and the crickets began their song, Buddy would climb the hill beside the oak tree and watch the sunset. Misty often sat beside him, tail flicking in the grass. Annie would come and sit too, rubbing his ears and whispering kind words. "You're the reason this farm feels like home," she told him once. "You bring more light than the sun ever." Buddy rested his head on her lap and let out a contented sigh. And every morning after, before the rooster crowed and before the stars had faded from the sky, Buddy would golden light rise again. He would check the barn, watch over the animals, and sit by the henhouse. Waiting for the first, he would give one soft bark, a gentle reminder to the world that kindness was waiting. And far above the hills, the sun would open its eyes, because the dog who woke the sun was ready to begin again.